Hey guys, Wayne here. It's getting colder at night and it's about time to turn the heaters on. I'm going to show you how I clean my ventless wall heater. When I say clean, I don't mean taking any kind of chemicals, anything like that to them. You never want to put any kind of cleaning chemicals on your ventless wall heater, because when that fire hits, you are going to burn all those chemicals off, and it is going to put an odorant out in your air, and it could also put some potentially toxic fumes out in your air as well, and you don't want to do that. So what I'm going to use is air. I've got an air tank right here. I've converted an old 30-pound propane tank into an air tank, and you're going to need a screwdriver. Now, most ventless heaters operate in the same way. There's going to be different designs. This is an Empire, a 30,000 thermostat. When I say 30,000, it means it's a 30,000 BTU, and it's a thermostat, so it kicks on and off by itself. But I'll show you what I mean of why it needs clean. When I go to light it, no, you can't see the pilot from there, but I'll show you when I get all this apart. When I turn this on, all 5 burners are going to light up at once. Now these are the radiant type of bricks, and they're supposed to glow red. But I've got one brick that wants to be different, wants to go against the crowd. That is actually not the way it's supposed to burn. It's coming up above the brick. It's burning here on the heat shield. That's not good. One of two things. I'm hoping, in my case, it just needs cleaned. Another thing it could be is that brick itself is going bad. In that case, you can get the replacement bricks, or you replace the heater. This heater isn't that old, so I imagine it just needs cleaned. So what happens is, when that brick is doing that right there, it means that it's not getting the proper airflow. It's getting the propane supply, but it's not getting the right mixture of oxygen to go with it. So it's causing it to be all funky, and that's not good. All the other 4 bricks are burning or glowing nice and red the way they're supposed to. So we need to try to fix that one. So, turn the heater completely off. Now, I'm not breaking the propane system, so I'm not going to turn the gas off at the tank. If I were to take this loose for whatever reason, I have a shutoff valve underneath, but I am not going to use it because I'm not breaking the system. But if I were to take this apart, I would actually go out and shut the tank off. Since we're not doing that, I'm not going to. So get your screwdriver. Most ventless heaters should have a panel, whether it's the Empire, the Rinnai, the Cozy Warm. Some of them, actually, you have to take the entire front off, and it just depends. What you're wanting to do is get away from, get all this away from here and open up the burner itself. So, take your panel loose, and before I started the camera, I already took one screw out of the bottom. I don't know how well you can see that. I will give you a closer look here in a second, but this is filthy dirty. These things will suck dust like crazy. Okay, so technically you could do everything you needed to do without taking all this off. However, I'm going to. And on this brand of Empire, there's 2 screws up here. What that'll do is this whole thing will lift off. However, I had it lit, so it's going to be blistering hot. So I'm going to go get me a washcloth or something like that so I can hold on to it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got me a towel. It's time to take this apart. And we're just going to lift the whole piece up off the burners and set it aside. Okay, so this is a closer look at it. This is the burner that's giving me all the trouble. Ventless heaters are very simply made. You have a control valve up here, That's where your main gas supply goes in. It's what controls what comes to the burners. So you have right here your main gas supply, you have an appliance regulator, your main gas supply goes up. This tube right here is your pilot tube, and then you also have right behind here your burner tube, which supplies this little box right here, which supplies all that. So what happens is dust will get sucked up in here. Now I'm going to light this back up, and I want to show you something. If you have a ventless heater or ventless logs or anything like that, and you see a pilot light that has a yellow flame just like that, that means your pilot light needs cleaned. It needs cleaned out. What's that doing is it's changing the atmospheric pressure, and it'll shut your heater off. It'll only stay lit for a few minutes, if that. So why it does that is when the flame's yellow, it'll raise up off of this right here, which is the thermocoupler. The thermocoupler, the pilot light hits the thermocoupler. The thermocoupler produces a very tiny millivolt, which travels down this copper wire and up into the control valve. That tells the control valve to stay open. If you have a yellow flame, no heat is touching that. That tells the control valve that there's a problem and it needs to be fixed, so it shuts your heater down for safety reasons. It is designed to do that, but it is a very easy fix. So what we're going to do now is start shooting some air through it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is start shooting some air through it. I've got my air tank ready. You'll need a nozzle, something like this, something that can get inside this pilot tube. Follow your pilot tube down and you'll see a little nut right here. You want that nut to be loosened up. And it usually should not be very tight at all. Okay, so we're going to just lay that down to the side. Take your air nozzle and go up this way. Now I have to tell you, do not go above 100 psi. There's a fiberglass orifice in here. If you go above 100 psi, you risk the chance of actually busting that orifice, and then you'll have a flame that shoots out to here. So stick that up in there. You want to cover your vent hole like so. Shoot a blast of air in there. And that's all that takes. Now, what we're going to do is blow out the burners. What I like to do is start from the back. So let me reposition the camera and see if I can't show you what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully you can see this okay. Right here, there is an airflow vent. That is your oxygen supply for your burners. So that is where you want to stick the nozzle. You want to stick that up in there like that, and then once I hit this, you should see dust and everything fly out of that burner. And what we're going to do is repeat that process on every one of these. Okay, so what we're going to do is repeat the process on every one of these. And now that we've done the back, we're going to go ahead and do the front of them. Okay, so that's pretty much done. What I like to do also is I like to hit the pilot tube once again. The reason I like to do that is because we've got a lot of dust flying around and I don't want any more to get down in that. If you have severe allergies, this may not be the job for you. You can actually go ahead and, let me see if I can tilt this camera down without giving you guys motion sickness. Right in here is filthy as well. I'll have to warn you, this is going to be insanely dusty. I also like to tilt the camera up a little bit. The upper vents. Okay. So that's pretty much all it takes. Now, what we're going to do is hook this pilot tube back up. Okay, so let's light this up and see if that burner is fixed. It's got a beautiful blue flame. Crank her on. So far, so good. It looks like it's burning just fine now. It's not coming up above the brick, which is good. So what we've done, there's probably been something in there disrupting the airflow, and it was just causing it to burn wonky. Shoot some air through it, and you've got yourself a good working ventless heater. Okay, to clean your heat shield, I would take your grill off, just like that. And let me get it turned around here. You probably notice how nasty it is right in there. That's normal. This white right here, that's normal too. It's all part of, it's basically particulates from the ceramic that comes up with the heat, and then it gets on there. You're never going to get 100% of that white stuff off. What I use though is just a towel with warm water, wetted down with warm water. You don't want to use any kind of chemicals. So we're just going to take it, wipe it down real good. You can see, hopefully you can see, most of that nasty particulate comes off. Wipe it down on all sides. Okay, so that's been all wiped down. You can see how nasty that towel is now. Now it's time to put the grill plate back on, but before you do, you want to look at the back of it, and you can see how nasty that is too. So we're just going to take our towel and do the same thing. Once you get that part clean, you can go ahead and put it back on the heat shield ever so gently. You got to make sure everything matches up. Voila. So now it's time to get this back on the heater. Okay, the heater's put back together. Time to light her up. See how she burns. Now, one thing I should mention is if you've done this, you have disturbed a lot of dust. That dust, if they are on the burner still, is going to burn off, and it can cause a very irritating smell to your sinuses. It can also set off smoke detectors, so don't be alarmed. The best way to get rid of it is to burn it on high. Give it about 5-10 minutes, let it all burn off. Let your smoke detectors go off until that's done burning, and then you can wave the smoke away from your smoke detectors. It's not going to hurt you, it's just going to be very irritating for a little bit, but it's worth it because ventless heaters are so efficient that I can deal with the dust. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how I clean out my ventless wall heater. That's the way that always works for me. It's quick, it's simple, and it gets the job done. So if you have any questions at all, anything that I've done that you don't understand, or anything that wasn't covered in this video, please feel free to email me, wayneshomestead@yahoo.com. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions for you, and if it's something that I think will help other people, I'll make a video about it. Also, I've got a new Facebook page, Wayne's Country Living. The link is down below. You can jump on over there and like that page if you want to. Remember, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helped, and I'll talk to you next time.